Welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show, 7 o'clock, and boy, is it stormy out there. Well, at least for some of you. Some of you might be heading out saying, what? There's no rain over here. Yeah, I was listening this morning a couple of hours ago to some really heavy rain that was pouring in Illinois and to our south. There we go. I don't know if you can hear out the window, but thunder. Yes, Mother Nature is not happy today. So we're going to give you the forecast, and I just want to let you know straight out of the gate that if you're just right now getting ready to leave the house and maybe you take us along with you, maybe you patch it into your car radio or you just have it sitting next to you, listen, please don't watch while you're driving. I love the fact that you have us mobile, though, with you. I want you to be aware, though, of leaving as early as you can and not be rushing in because that's what's going to cause those accidents. I saw some of them as I was heading in this morning. So the roads are wet. There's ponding taking place. And then we could see some flash flooding. We could see some severe weather a little bit later on today as well. We are looking at the severe weather threats and a first alert weather day. Isolated, again, severe storms and some localized flooding. That's the story right now. If you are just getting ready to head out, you can see the flooding is the medium threat. Wind, though, as well as a very low threat of hail, not from a tornadic standpoint, but I would say more so on the flooding and the wind standpoint. So we are coming immediately to you with the weather because that's really our top story right now before we get into the other national and local stories. Let's look for our next several days. You're going to see the early rain ending and just a slight chance tomorrow in the afternoon. But the biggest thing is look at the change in the temperatures. You know, we went from talking about a heat index of 110 yesterday to 92 and then into the mid to low 80s, which is great. So today you can see that red day of first alert 4 for their 7-day forecast, 92 for the high and then into the low 70s. Then you have the 84 stretch, 82, 83, 85, and it stays 85 for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So definitely better days ahead with lows in the low to mid 60s. You can't complain about that. So we just have to get past, again, what we have on tap for you today. So that's the weather aspect. Now, with regards to our news, we're going to start off day one of the Republican National Convention kicked off last night, as you can see, in Milwaukee. And during that, there were a lot of cheers as they saw former President Donald Trump show up. He, with his bandage on his ear, putting his fist in the air, many people, again, saying, I cannot believe he's already out and look how great he's doing. They will hear him speak on Thursday. Before that, though, he made his nomination for vice presidential pick. Donald Trump has named former never-Trumper Republican and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential nominee. The RNC delegates formally selected the 39-year-old after Trump announced him on social media that he had chosen him after lengthy deliberation and thought. Mr. Vance is a Yale-educated venture capitalist and an author. He has previously criticized his running mate, once suggested privately that Trump could be, quote, America's Hitler. However, he has since become an ardent supporter. He said he changed his mind after he saw him during his presidency. Trump, as I said, made the appearance with his ear bandage and is set to speak on Thursday. Now, it's night 2, and on night 2, we have a connection to our area. Senator Eric Schmidt is tapped to talk tonight. Now, this will be featuring a rising Republican political star, U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt. Again, if you have been watching last night or if you're set to watch for the next several days, it'll be interesting to see what you take away from Schmidt's speaks. Again, the decision by the U.S. District Judge also yesterday dismissing Trump classified documents, that case over concerns with the prosecutor's appointment. So that just came in overnight. It could be appealed, though, and may be overruled by a higher court. Well, let's talk about those red light cameras. Could they make a reappearance? It's possible. St. Louis moving closer to bringing them back. The city streets department is seeking a vendor for the systems after the Board of Aldermen passed a bill to bring them back in an effort to stop the violent driving, which we've been seeing for the last several years. In fact, you know, I did traffic for a long, long time in television. I saw the erratic driving, the crazy speeds happen when everybody started to return to work after the pandemic, and it's never let up. Drivers, again, continuing to drive erratically, causing accidents. The request, by the way, for proposals for this is open until August 19th. Well, productivity may be down at work today. And why is that? Because it's Amazon Prime Day. So many people on their computers, trying to get the best deals. Here's the deal, however, not the deals that you get, but the deal is you need to pay attention as to whether or not it really is a true deal. And I'm going to give you a website to go to. It's camel.com. And that shows price history. It shows whether right before Amazon Prime Day, the prices were increased just to drop a little bit to make you believe it's actually a good deal. So if you're looking for things like TVs, laptops, fashion, furniture, home, kitchen, gaming, tech, beauty, and more. Those are all the things that people look for on Amazon Prime Day. If you don't want to wait until Black Friday, then this is your day. There are tons and tons and tons of websites talking about their favorite deals. I looked at Business Insider. Their favorite Prime deals include 43% off the Echo Show 8 Smart Display, 24% off the 16-inch MacBook M3 Pro, and 25% off a 65-inch Roku Pro Series 4K QLED TV. So for all of you looking for maybe those things, you better get on because it's already underway and it continues to increase every single year with excitement. All right, Verizon has been hit with a $2.6 billion anti-piracy lawsuit from major record labels, Universal, Warner, Sony, all taking issue with the internet service provider failing to boot users who repeatedly downloaded pirated content. A collection of major record labels sued Verizon. They said they turned a blind eye to those users who illegally downloaded the content, a significant effort to curb piracy against one of the leading gatekeepers of the internet. And then a heads up, listen, if you have a Hyundai, have you been dealing with this? There are many Hyundai owners that are frustrated, and I actually saw this last year, but evidently ramping up again, where they're saying that they cannot get insurance. And it's because of just how many of those vehicles have been stolen, an alarming rate stolen in many neighborhoods. And there was a Kansas City area insurance broker that said, I'll get a note saying the vehicle is not eligible because of the high theft rate. We saw that with Allstate, Progressive, State Farm. These insurance companies may not be offering new policies for not just certain Hyundai, but also Kia vehicles in some states. So you might want to check with your insurance provider. Well, a quick note, yesterday I talked about the drills that are going on this week. First responders running those disaster drills around Busch Stadium and other areas around 44 and Arsenal. Just be aware of that. If you see all those military vehicles and you see a lot of people in uniform, don't be alarmed. Don't call 911. They're running some major drills this week. All-Star Game on tap tonight. They had the big home run derby last night, and it was all overshadowed by singing. Can you call this singing? I don't know, and it's so very difficult to listen to this, and I feel bad for her. I don't know if this is really what she meant to do. If so, I don't know in what planet she considers that to be singing, but please tell me what you think of this. This is four-time Grammy-nominated country singer Ingrid Andress. Give it a listen.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, now let me say something. Nerves take over. People forget the words. Now, many people, however, this is going viral all over the internet. Everybody's playing this song from her last night, and they're liking it to 2018, back when Fergie sang the national anthem. I don't know if you remember that, but so many people are liking it to that, comparing it to that. They're saying that you should see the comments. For anybody that's posting this, everyone's saying, I'm here for the comments. That cats and dogs are howling everywhere. They're like, yes, she's singing for us. We have the same pitch. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but many times when you have something in your ear, it throws you. I don't know if that was the case. I don't know if she really, truly was trying to do some modern twist on it. I sang the national anthem years ago at a St. Louis Blues preseason game. And I will tell you, as I stepped out, nerves took over. I was just very, very happy that I walked away and remembered every word of the national anthem, because even though it's the iconic song and you think, how in the world can you forget it? Well, your nerves take over. But I don't understand what we were hearing there, and that's all I have to say. So if you want to hear the full version, it's all over the internet. Ashton can maybe post it for you. There's certain parts of it that people are really talking about this morning. But I don't know. Weigh in. Let me know what you think. We've got Kelsey's in here in studio with me. Ashlyn is moderating. If you've got questions or comments throughout the show to anything I've given you in the news you can use, in sports, in weather, and then if anything with regards to my guest today, please always feel free to drop those in. I do want to say congratulations to the Dodgers slugger. Is it Teoscar Hernandez? I don't know that first name. I'm not big into baseball anymore, but he took the Derby crown by defeating young Royal star Bobby Witt Jr. in a thrilling final round. And I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong. Is it Teoscar? Do you know? Kelsey, no. Teoscar Hernandez. Okay, they had a full night of dingers soaring through the Texas sky, and it was the unlikely champion, Dodgers slugger, again, Teoscar Hernandez, who took the Derby crown. So congratulations to him. Well, that's how we do it. We give you the news that we think you can use. We give you sports news. We give you some viral and maybe some entertainment news. And we give you your forecast as well so that you are all up to date. Now, I'm really excited over our next 45 minutes. We're going to be talking with Dave Lange. And you can see on set that we have been showing books and soccer balls that we're going to give you. You can see just a little clip of it here. It is St. Louis City's play-by-play announcer, Joey Zanavani. Is that hopefully? I hope that's how you say his name. He actually wrote the foreword in this. David Lange is the author, and he just had a book signing event just a couple of days ago. He'll be at the Kirkwood Public Library on August 10th. So we're looking at the second edition of Soccer Made in St. Louis, a history of the game in America's, did you know this? First soccer capital. It's super cool. So we're going to talk about year one, St. Louis City SC, and then again, soccer made in St. Louis. Really cool. If you are a big soccer fan or your kids are, you will love the walk we're going to take over the next 45 minutes. We'll talk about the pitch. We'll talk about the incredible first season of St. Louis City SC as an expansion team. And then what happened? In second year, we fired our coach. And they have a ton of ties. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We'll also talk about how many men and women from our area have made it into maybe the national teams. A lot of incredible talent right here in St. Louis. So this is going to be a fun hour for sure. Dave Lange, my guest in the blue chair when we return.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
Okay, not today. Probably would be a good pool day. However, what we saw yesterday over the last couple of days, I'm sure many of you probably jumped in those, or you keep saying, I need one of those. Yes. Go ahead and pull the trigger, folks. You will never be happier. I have had pools my entire life. My mom and dad had an above ground when we were growing up. Then they built the in ground. And then when I bought my first house, it was number one thing I was looking for. You either love them or you want to go and say, okay, let somebody else have it. A neighborhood, you can jump into maybe a neighbor's or your best friends or somebody in the family. But hopefully somebody you know has one of those, because it truly does change the excitement for your summer. Just Pools and Spa Specialist. I want you to use them for not only building that dream, but getting your chemicals, getting all those fun toys and the floats. They've got those deals going on, 10% off of chemicals, 30% off of the fun toys. Just Pools, pool and spa specialist, 3987 West Outer Road South. They're in Arnold, Missouri. Tell them that you came in because you saw them on The Real Monica Adams Show. That phone number is 636-464-7110. It is 7:15 and welcome back. Again, stay safe if you're getting ready to head out. Grab the umbrella. You're going to have some heavy rain depending on where you are. Others might say, I don't have anything here. There was a tree down on Dittmer Ridge Road. So again, some really severe pounding of the storms that are coming down as well as flooding on the road. So just be aware that depending on where you are this morning, you may encounter that. All right, let's talk some soccer this morning for the next, 45 minutes or so. If you've got kids that are playing, they're going to really enjoy what my guest has to talk about. And if you played, or maybe you've heard stories of your parents and grandparents, just sit back if you can, or do us a favor and be sure to come back to the show if you're getting ready to head out. That's the beauty of streaming, that all these shows are there for you to go back and watch if you can only catch a few minutes here and there. And I'd love also for you to comment, anybody that we talk about that maybe is a big fan of one of these players that we made right here in St. Louis, because we've had a lot of talent. Let's bring our guest on. Dave Lange in studio with us. We're going to talk about these books, talk about his background, and some excitement about our own St. Louis City SC team into year 2. How are you?
Hi, Monica. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very, very much. So I don't want to butcher his name. The man who wrote the foreword. How do you say his full name?
Joey Zanaboni.
I did say it right. Zanaboni. Okay. So we want to talk about soccer galore over the next 45 minutes. But let's go back. You've got, besides being an author, you've got a big history in TV and writing and many things in the media aspect. So tell everybody about your background.
I started in the news media and the newspaper business when we had 2 newspapers. I started at the St. Louis Globe-Democrat and worked there until they went out of business. Then I went into the corporate PR side, worked at General Dynamics when they were headquartered in Clayton, McDonnell Douglas, and then luckily I got aboard at Anheuser-Busch when they started the Cardinals magazine in 1992. They hired me to start the magazine. That's a monthly publication, still exists.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
And then teaching also.
Yes, after I retired from Anheuser-Busch, I've been teaching at Webster University and UMSL.
I love that. Yeah. And then you have these books again that we're going to be talking about. I can't wait to talk about year 1 because it truly was fascinating. And everyone kept hearing that they wouldn't be able to get a ticket to go to the game. And I remember the game that we went to, my husband and I, was the coldest game that they've had yet. It was when it was snowing inside of the stadium, but it was packed. Nobody cared. We all wanted to see and witness the incredible display of athleticism on the pitch. And that's how it was, that everybody was packing the stadium and everyone was saying, well, you can't get a ticket. I heard you weren't going to be able to get a ticket for years. You remember that?
Yes.
But that's not true, though. You can get a ticket.
Yes. Season ticket holders are always like selling them online when they can't go to the game. So there's always ways to get in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I highly suggest that you do so. We've been to 2 games now. And I say every single time, you have to go early, and just the amazement of how beautiful the stadium is. Walk around and enjoy local food from our vendors here in St. Louis that have some of your favorite restaurants. That's what I really love, is the tie into St. Louis.
Ownership has really done a fantastic job on the location of the stadium, the whole environment. As you said, having local businesses involved. It's really a great thing for St. Louis.
It is, and we're taking a look at some pictures, which, by the way, the beautiful pictures inside of the books that we're going to talk about. Again, year 1. So I always want to stay with the positive as much as we possibly can. Year 1 of St. Louis City SC, remarkable, and just how incredible they did for an expansion team.
As far as we know, they're the first team in the 5 major men's sports in the United States to win their regular season title as a expansion team. So just an incredible accomplishment.
Well, right. Straight out of the gate, you're like, oh, my gosh, look at this team. Look what we have. And so how many games have you been to?
We have season tickets. I've been to every game except one because we had a commitment that night. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you loved the most? So let's go to season 1 first, year 1 first, before we look at year 2. But what did you love the most about your very first game being there at that stadium?
Just the whole passion. As soon as you get to the game, it's like an electric atmosphere. People are chanting and cheering. It's an environment I've never experienced since, if you remember when the St. Louis Steamers played at the old
Absolutely.
arena in the late 1970s, early 1980s. That and a Blues game, because you're inside in that stadium, you're almost like you're inside because of the way it's constructed.
Right.
It holds the noise in, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere.
And let's stress this, no matter what seat you have, you've got a great seat in that stadium.
Oh, it's amazing. You're within, I think, 120 feet of the field anywhere you sit in the stadium.
Yeah. I remember everyone's like, oh, you're up on the highest. And I go, well, yeah, but it was incredible.
Yes.
And let's talk about the excitement. So if you go beforehand, so we would always go down, I think in the 2 games we went to, a couple of hours before, and just to kind of feel the excitement outside the stadium. That's what I love. They've got so many different artists. They've got DJs. They've got rap artists that they have outside. Everybody gathers and kind of pre-parties and then goes in. And then if you are able to, you stay outside and you watch the St. Luligans.
Yes.
They come in their little parade. They've got the smoke in the air, and then they come in, and they are nonstop the entire game.
Yes, it's what we mentioned about the passion. I mean, the St. Luligans and other supporters groups, their passion is just incredible. It's just that they march to the stadium. They stand the entire game. They have chants that they've choreographed.
Yep.
Some games they unfurl a huge banner at that end of the stadium. So it's just the whole passion thing is really something that I think it's everybody involved once they're in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the funny thing is, there were people like, oh, do they stand the whole time? I was like, you're going to have to get used to it because they're not going to sit down. So if you want them to sit, they're not sitting because they keep the excitement going even if the game's not looking that good.
Yes, and first-time fans will really enjoy it. About a week ago, I was at a game, and Jim Holtgreave, the golfer from St. Louis, was there, and he said, I've never been here before. This is unbelievable.
Yes.
So.
It really is. And so the funny thing is, if you go, so I'm glad Dave just said that there's particular chants and songs that they do. And since we were at the first game, I didn't know about this. And I kept going, how does everybody know these already? I don't know what they are. So you might want to look them up in advance so you can sing them along with them or chant along with them because you otherwise you're going to feel left out. You might get it at some point. I was like halfway through the game. I'm like, now I know what they're saying.
Yes, and St. Luligans have a website. You go on there, you can find their chants and
good.
Know about the whole situation.
Okay, so Ashlyn, do me a favor and find that and post that for anybody that's getting ready to possibly go to a game. If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Dave Lange, author. He's been in media, he's teaching, etc. He's got so many things behind him, but we're talking about these 2 books that are on set. So year 1, we mentioned, absolutely remarkable. We get into year 2, and so many people kept going, oh my gosh, they tied again. They tied again. It's like literally been the theme of the year is ties, 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 which doesn't sit well for us. And we end up firing our coach.
Yes. I mean, the short explanation is they're not having a good year, but there are reasons once you dig into it. They're missing 7 players who have either started or played a lot of minutes every game because of injuries, or in one case, Kyle Hybert, who was called up to the Canadian national team. They missed him for a month. But the biggest issue is Edward Leuven, who's probably their best field player. Their midfielder, their playmaker, their leading scorer last year, missed 9 of the first 11 games, I think, partially of injury because of a tragic personal situation. His wife has brain cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
He's back now, but they missed him terribly. And these other players who are hurt, they also missed them. So they're basically have called up players from their second team, St. Louis City, too, to fill in the holes. But a lot of that is due to the injury situation this year.
Were you surprised by the firing of the coach?
A little bit, because injuries are something that's beyond a coach's control.
Right.
What they said was the main reason was just before they fired him, they were in Vancouver, had a 2-0 lead in the first 5 minutes and lost 4-3. So I think that was like the final straw on the camel's back that led to that.
Well, let's say this, and for all of you that are watching right now, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, do me a favor and weigh in. A lot of people are saying, well, look at our St. Louis Cardinals, look at our St. Louis Blues, or when the Rams were here. They may not have had the best season. Next season, like multiple years would go by, and then they'd start saying, well, maybe we need to make some changes. But they got definitely more than just a year. So a lot of people are like, wow, is it brutal in soccer? I mean, you have this incredible first year, and then you're out. I mean, they don't even give you a little time. That's what a lot of people's comments were of, well, this is definitely a different sport.
Well, they were fortunate they had a John Hackworth on their staff as the coaching director. He's been an MLS head coach, an interim MLS head coach. He's coached everywhere in the United States at every level, including on the national team and the youth national team. So they had a very experienced guy that they could put in there. while they try to decide if are we going to keep John or we're going to start looking for a head coach. And the way the soccer calendar works, this is the off season in Europe. So coaches who are out of contract who are looking for work from Europe, I guess they wanted to make sure they were able to dive into that market if they felt they needed to bring in someone from outside.
And what's the record been since this coach was fired?
They won one and lost two.
Okay, I remember coming right after. I'm like, oh, good. Now they win. It makes that guy like oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You fire me and then you win. And then they've lost two since then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yes.
interesting. So have you, by the way, been to a game? If so, what have you loved the most? And again, I can't stress enough. If you haven't, please try to get to one. Support St. Louis City SC. Support St. Louis in general. That's the thing that, with you covering sports all these years, when the excitement was building about the stadium being built and then people would go by and seeing it all play out and then get there, do you see people stay or are they at the game and get out right away? Because that's one of the things that people are asking. Like, is it, they keep saying, it's not safe. We've got so much crime in St. Louis. I don't know if I want to go down. I want to support them, but I don't want to be in the city. That's a hard catch-22.
I think a lot of people, once they get there to the first game and they see the situation, they become very comfortable with coming early, staying late, because there's venues that have been there or have been open, like the pitch and Union Station, which is brand new. The tap room across the street in the north end of the stadium has been there a long time. That's become the Schlafly's tap room. It's become the headquarters of the St. Louligans and the supporters. They generally meet there on the parking lot, and then they march to the stadium. A lot of people come early just to experience all that stuff. Once they've been there one time and understand, yes, it's safe.
Right.
Yes, we can park. We don't have to worry. So it's a great environment to be in.
Well, and anything in life, you just always want to keep your head on a swivel, be aware. There's crime everywhere. I hope that more and more of you will take your families and experience it. And, if you feel like you need to get out right after the game, that's obviously your choice. But I'd say get down early, because the cool thing is a lot of these restaurants that you frequent, that you've loved maybe over the years, that are part of the stadium, they are actually like Steve's Hot Dogs. They have both sides. So once you get into the stadium, you can obviously purchase whatever you want during the game, but pre-game, they also have it on the outside, which I think is just genius.
Yes. And Maggie O'Brien's across the street has completely repurposed their establishment as a sports soccer bar.
Right.
So it's an example of what that stadium has done for that part of St. Louis.
Well, and we needed that, did we not? I mean, everybody that was a big football fan, and when we lost the St. Louis Rams, it was needing this type of excitement in our area all over again, and it's there. So if you haven't been yet, you've truly been missing out. Try to get tickets. I know some people are like, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford to take my family, etc. Try to find some. You don't need to buy the most expensive tickets, because as Dave and I just mentioned, truly, no matter where you go in the stadium, you're going to have a phenomenal seat, and you're going to have that time that we want you to have. Oh my gosh, Mother Nature is not happy outside. I don't know if you can hear the pounding of the thunder, but we have it. Okay, so Kelsey said that there are some comments coming in. Debbie said, I'm going to hang with you for the entire show because I'm just that huge of a fan of getting real with Monica Adams. However, I don't know anything about soccer, but you're going to learn some stuff today. Marilyn says it still makes no sense. His great coaching style surely cannot overcome playing with a lackluster of remaining players. I was very disappointed. Who thinks you can overcome a highly injured team? Why blame and fire this great coach? Makes no sense. And that's what a lot of people had said.
Exactly, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And just a lot of frustration that came out. Was that the comment that you wanted to say? Okay. So if you have any questions or comments during the show, let me know. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, soccer made in St. Louis. Any of us that ever played, you used to hear the whole soccer made in Germany, right? Well, we're talking about here, America. Soccer made in St. Louis, tracing it back to 1870?
Yes.
What? All right, we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about some incredible talent that has come out of our area with Dave Lange when we return. Welcome back, 7:29, and again, it's the Real Monica Adams Show. I know it's starting off a little thundery, rainy, flooding possibly in your area. If you can stay home, great. If you can work from home, if not, just be aware you might want to leave a little bit early. And if you have to do so, and you normally get a chance to watch the entire show, just do us a favor and come back to it, watch it on replay, and then tag me in comments so I can see your comments later, or we can make sure that we pass along any questions or comments to Dave. So these books, first of all, you just had a signing, what, a couple of days ago?
Yes,
at Union
Station. They had a
How'd that
player
go?
signing. It was great. Joey Zanavoni was with me. Joey is, if you've never met Joey, he's very energetic. He was actually like throwing out a line to the people in the crowd saying, "Hey, how you doing? Come on over."
Oh,
we
cute.
sold a lot of books thanks to Joey.
Well, and then did you have some of the players out there?
Union Station had 3 players in the aquarium, Tim Parker, and 2 other players who were signing autographs.
Right there, by the way, at Union Station. What's the latest, by the way, on Berkey? Because I heard that he was out.
He had a muscle spasm 2 games ago. He played the entire game last Saturday night.
Good.
And they play Wednesday night in Seattle, so he's available.
Okay.
The issue with Seattle is they play on artificial turf, which is a different kind of surface for soccer.
Mm-hmm.
The ball behaves differently. It's very hard on a goalkeeper.
Yes.
And if they want to, sometimes they sit him out when they play on artificial turf because of the potential to really get hurt.
Injured, yes. And being a goalkeeper, I will agree with that. Yes. So if you don't know, I played goal in my grade school, high school, college years, and there's a huge difference for a goalkeeper for sure, from regular grass to artificial. So yes, our big thing is obviously to keep him safe, but I'm a big Berkey fan. If I wore a jersey with a name on it, it would be Berkey for sure. So let's talk about the talent in this next 25 minutes or so that's come out of St. Louis. I was looking at pictures on your website, and I just smiled really big when I saw Mike Sorber, who I went to high school with.
Oh, really?
So we want to talk about him and then some of the other talent from both the U.S. men and women's national teams.
Well, Mike has made more appearances for the U.S. men's national team than any other St. Louisan, which says it all because the dream of every soccer player is to represent their country. And he not only represented his country, he played in the World Cup in the United States. And if you've heard of Ty Keogh, Ty told me, he said, that's like, you can't go any higher than that. Play in the World Cup in your own country.
Yep.
He did that. And he not only did it, but the U.S. coach at that time said he was our best player.
Yep, there he is right there on your screen. Just an incredible athlete. We all knew that we were experiencing greatness when we played in high school with him at Aquinas Mercy, and then going on, you saw St. Louis, and just remarkable, and still so deeply tied to St. Louis. Who else has impressed you that you've been able to write about that's come from our area?
On the women's side, we had 2 of the best players in women's soccer, Lori Kolupny and Becky Sauerbrunn. Each of them have played for their country more than 100 times.
Wow.
Lori, who is retired now, played in 105 games. Becky is well over 200. She's still playing. And I think she's near the end of her career, but she may get a few more call-ups. So those 2 players on the women's side, I mean, they're head and shoulders above everyone else.
Yep, they're right there. So I've been blessed to meet both of them coming into Channel 2 and I believe Channel 5. Besides being remarkable athletes, they have hearts of gold, just the most down-to-earth, genuine people that you could meet. Because, you know, when you're as good as they are, it's very easy for some athletes to have a very pompous attitude, and that's not what you find with either one of them.
No, Lori is always cooperative, always happy to help with whatever you want. Becky, who doesn't live in St. Louis anymore, but is always available. When I've tried to contact her, she always gets back to me.
Yep.
She'll do whatever you want. I mean, answer whatever questions you have. And she's very intelligent, and her answers make so much sense.
So I mentioned going into the break that we can trace soccer made in St. Louis back to 1870?
The first report of a game that was going to be played was on February 7th, 1872. Oddly enough, 1 block from the current stadium.
Really?
It was supposed to be a boys' game. There was no report if the game was played. They said there's going to be a game played that day.
How cool is this?
And the actual first game we know that was played was on May 28th, 1875, at what became Sportsman's Park, the baseball stadium for the Cardinals and the old Browns.
Did any of you know this? I did not. And again, growing up in Florissant and being a person from St. Louis my whole life, had no idea that we had this deep tie that far back. But how fun. So as you do your digging and writing this book, again, this is second edition,
Yes.
Soccer Made in St. Louis. What did you find most fascinating as you dug in of the ties to our area?
Well, since the first edition came out in 2011, so many newspapers are online now. We were able to find out so much more about the early history of the game in St. Louis. For example, in 1884, the first league formed in St. Louis. That's 3 years ahead of the first league that we know of in England. Later that year, on Christmas Day, 1884, as far as we know, the first international soccer game ever played in the United States was played in St. Louis between a local all-star team and a team from Canada.
Wow.
So our roots go way back, and like every other city, we were an immigrant city. The fact that we had so many people from Ireland, Scotland, and England here in the 19th century, they brought the game with them, and it just spread through the Catholic youth system until we were at the point where every generation was turning out more players.
Sure.
And we're unique in that respect because in most other cities, after the first generation of soccer players, the next generation would take up baseball or other
Right.
sports, and soccer would kind of get shunned aside. It didn't happen in St. Louis.
No, and that's the thing. You know, I always wondered why people would talk about the rich history that we had, but never realize that it went back that far. You just mentioned the Catholic youth system. So CYC, super huge. And then when I was growing up, so we're talking the late 70s, late 80s, during that time period, there were so many select teams that were out there. And I don't know, and this is my question now, if we have the same amount, do we have similar leagues that we had back then? So for me, it was Bush. I lived up in Florissant, and I wanted so bad to play for Bush, but my mom and dad were like, it's too far of a drive, right? So they would have to drive to Soccer Park up from Florissant. That's why we didn't. But Norco, Pepsi was back then. Scott Gallagher was really huge. Are those still around, any of those?
Bush has merged with
Awesome.
Scott Gallagher
Oh,
to become
they've
St. Louis
merged.
Soccer Club.
Oh, okay.
But there's just as many youth teams, or if not more. Lufuse has a wonderful organization. Missouri Rush has a great organization. And the thing about soccer in St. Louis is it's just spreading farther and farther out. If you go to Wentzville, if you go to Washington, Missouri, they have their own youth organization. On the east side, which produced one of St. Louis's best ever players, Steve Tritchu from Granite City, there's a great youth organization spread throughout the east side. So it's everywhere.
And still as difficult to make it into these select leagues as it used to be?
No, because there's more of them. So
Ah,
there's
okay.
more opportunities for kids to play, which is the way it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you have a comment or a question about any of that, so I'm being told there's a question coming in. Is that right? Okay. Whose? Let me see. In case she wants to know which one you call it. Both, right? So okay. So Debbie had a question of whether you call it soccer or football.
Yes, soccer in the United States, football everywhere else.
Exactly.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because soccer became what grew out of soccer in the United States was gridiron football, and people had to distinguish them somehow. And the word soccer came from in England they abbreviated Football Association into soccer. So, and that's how the word started. And in the newspapers in the United States, they had to figure out how are we going to say if it's football, or because there's three different kinds of football in the 19th century: there's soccer, rugby, and gridiron football. So they decided on soccer so everybody knew what game they were talking about.
Right, because that's confusing otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would like to know how much it's changed over the years. So we have a couple of balls here on set. So if we're talking back in the late 1800s, what did it look like then, and when did it start changing, and how many iterations has it had?
Well, like baseball and basketball, it's evolved over the years. And when the game first started in England and became formalized in 1864, when they came up with the rules of the game, which are basically the same. There's 17 rules. What changed is the formation. When the teams were first starting, they didn't have a goalkeeper. They just had 11 guys running around the field, trying to get the ball in the net, basically.
And the people out in the field would have to try to stop it?
Yeah.
I didn't know
and
this.
it's grown. They became a goalkeeper. Then it became defenders. All the formations started to evolve. The equipment evolved. The ball we see here is the ball that was used from the very start of soccer up until the mid-1960s, a hard leather ball with laces on the side. So you can imagine if you do a head ball and happen to hit your head on those laces,
No
it
thanks.
could be painful. And the guys who played in those days said when this ball was wet, it became very heavy because it was made of leather.
I bet.
And it was difficult to control.
Does that look more like rugby?
It's more like it almost looks like a volleyball kind
Well,
of,
yeah.
or a rugby ball, yeah.
Yeah, like a rugby. Yeah, but
Right.
but very very heavy for sure.
In those
So when
days.
did it start changing
In
to
the
more
mid
of this look?
60s, it changed to the 32 panel black and white ball, which you were probably familiar with
Yes.
growing up.
Yes.
And then it became evolved into an aerodynamic ball. That's an MLS game ball. If you hold it, it's got dimples all over the ball, which affects the aerodynamics of the ball in flight. It's kind of like a golf ball.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I haven't had a soccer ball in my hands for many, many, many years. Yes, it's the old ones, and we would always look for the different colored ones, right? I remember back, you talked about the steamers. It was like a fluorescent orange and black, I think.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, it would show up on TV.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talked again about the need for the. There you go, and that's my guy right there. Thank you, Zach, for having him ready to go. Slobo Ilieski. He was, for me, the greatest as I was growing up, and just you just kind of emulate as you're watching these people and go, oh, I want to play like him. The dynamics and just the personality of him. How great was he?
What a great guy. I mean, when he first came here, I wrote some stories about him. He said he wanted to take me to lunch to thank me, and he didn't have to
Aw.
do that. And he was just a great guy. And I'll never forget, was it the third season? I was working on the desk at the Globe Democrat, and he called me and he said, I want to be traded. What? He said, I'm number one goalkeeper. I should play every game because they were starting to play the number two guy and basically the rest Slobo because, as you know, as you mentioned, playing on artificial turf,
Yes.
it's a very hard on the goalkeeper. So they wanted to give him a break, and he said, I should play
didn't want
every
it.
game. He wanted to be traded. And Al Trost was the coach, and I
Oh,
called
yeah.
Al, and I said, Al, you're not going to believe this. And he's like, oh, no.
Who was the other goalkeeper? I don't think I remember.
Manny Schwartz was,
Oh,
was
I
his
don't
backup
remember that.
goalkeeper, yes.
So let's talk about, for those of you that were fans of the Steamers or the Storm or the Ambush, who were your favorite players back then? Don Ebert for me, number 9. Jeff Cacciatore, was he 22? I think
Yes.
so. You had Carl Rose. Was 22 Tony Glavin?
22, I think, was Tony Glavin.
Yeah.
yes.
Cacciatore was maybe 16.
I
This is
don't
how much I
remember
knew
for
sports
sure.
back then. So all of you that love statistics, or that's in his book, by the way, if you're a numbers person, which I'm not anymore, but back then, I think it was my beginning of really, really thinking maybe I would like to cover sports, which I was blessed to do for 12 years. And I used to know the stats. I would know if the players came out, I knew all. Now it's like you could come knocking on this studio door and I'd be like, oh, you're an athlete. I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah. We just, our lives evolved. But yeah, Cacciatore, Glavin, Carl Rose was amazing. Slobo, Don Ebert, I had a crush on. I think all us girls did. But yeah, who were your favorites? So it was fun to look back at the Steamers, the Storm, the Ambush. But then at that point, for all of us that enjoyed going to those games, there was just such a long gap of we want this again. And do you think that really played into the excitement of packing the stadium for year one of St. Louis City SC?
Yes, and we need to remember that a lot of the groundwork for this team was done by St. Louis FC, which was a minor league team that played at the soccer park for 5 years before this.
Right.
Thanks to Jim Cavanaugh from Worldwide Technology, who saved the soccer park, bought the park before it was going to be developed into something else, took over Scott Gallagher, brought a minor league team in here, and it's really set the stage for reigniting that interest in professional soccer. And he's now one of the minority owners of St. Louis City.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you because I haven't been to Soccer Park. Is it still called Soccer Park?
Oh yes, it's a St. Louis Soccer, right?
So
Worldwide Technology Soccer.
Oh yeah. So they all have their branding behind it.
Right.
I haven't been there in so many years, but it was so exciting to go. Whether you know someone playing or not, it's just the energy there.
Yeah, and the backstory behind that is Anheuser-Busch had a lot to do with that.
Yes.
And Denny Long, who at that time was the number 2 guy in the brewery, a St. Louis guy, a soccer guy, purposely had that modeled after club facilities in Germany. He sent his engineers over to Europe to find out what's a good facility, and he built it specifically to mimic a European facility. And when it was built, it was the first, as far as we know, soccer-specific facility in the United States when it opened in the mid-1980s.
Does it still get packed like it used to?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And I mean, it's used heavily.
I'm going to need to get back to a game.
Yeah, I
Tell me
coached
if one of your kids play there. I'll come out and watch your
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, I coached for Bush, so that was like our second home for like 10 years.
How long ago did you coach?
From 1997 till about 2008.
Do you miss it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Comment?
Yeah, Richard commented, and a few others talked about their favorite players.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick break because the comments and questions aren't popping up for me right now. So I'm going to get my phone out because I don't want your comments or questions to be missed. Again, if you have anything for my guest, Dave Lange, and I'd love for you to get these books. Before we go to break, where can they get them? And I think you've got, you're going to be at the Kirkwood Public Library August 10th?
Yes, I'll be doing a 1-hour presentation with Joey Zanaboni about my books, about the history of soccer in St. Louis, with the focus, obviously, on St. Louis City.
And there it is on the screen, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., and that's on East Jefferson. So mark that one down. And then you have another one after that?
There will be a part of the Missouri Book Festival in Washington, Missouri on September 14th. We're going to do a soccer panel discussion with Joey and a representative from the Washington Youth Soccer Association. And we're trying to hopefully get a U.S. national team player to be there with us. I'm waiting to hear back from him to see if his schedule's open that day.
Oh, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we showed you the Kirkwood one and then Washington. We'll show those again in about 15 minutes at the end in case you didn't get to mark that down. But yeah, if you've got a soccer lover in your family, these would make great gifts. You know, we just got off of having a Father's Day, which I hope some of you maybe pre-ordered your book for that. I know back last year, I saw a lot of excitement on social media talking about, you know, securing your copies around Christmas time. You just think about unique things when you think the person that you love has everything. They don't have this. So year one, St. Louis City SC, and then Soccer Made in St. Louis. All right, your questions, your comments when we return. He wants to say, I can't believe I took your son's life. I don't know what I was thinking. I have so much regret and remorse. I've changed my life. Would you accept that apology?
I've never thought of that. Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Do you think, because you talk about forgiveness, do you think that you all can ever forgive one another and come back together?
It wasn't just right. I'm not perfect. Just because my name is Bush, I don't have it all figured out. And I think they know that too.
I was cyclically depressed, so I could be the happiest person you ever met at 11 a.m. I could be on cloud 9. And by 7 p.m. that evening, I'd be sitting on a couch with a gun in my hand and thinking hard not to get emotional. I
Never feel sorry for being emotional.
really, I was at a space to where I couldn't believe that I had brought my children into this.
Where's the light? Because many of you probably feel that there's this darkness and there's this thunder cloud that's constantly over you. This family has dealt with so much.
So our journey is our journey. There has to be purpose in this pain. There has to be something more powerful. I have to find something to be blessed about every day. I have to count my blessings and have gratitude every single day.
Welcome back, 747. I hope you have had an opportunity to see us from the beginning. If not, again, go back and watch that at your leisure, maybe a little bit later on today or this afternoon. I know a lot of you are being hit with the crazy rain. I saw Rich even said it was hard for him to be able to listen and hear the podcast because you're dealing with so much of the heavy rain in the Illinois area. But come back to it. That's the beauty. Just share it with your friends and family. If you're catching the last part of this and you've got soccer lovers in your family or it was you growing up, you're going to love to see the pictures in these books. So the books are the pictures that were provided for year one directly from the team, right?
Yes, they were, when we called them about doing a book, we wanted to make sure they weren't doing one. They said, are you kidding? We've got so much on our plate. So have at it. And fortunately, they gave us full access to all of their photo library, which was, the photos make the book.
They absolutely.
There's some wonderful action pictures in there, thanks to the team.
I can't wait to be flipping through it and see this. But again, besides St. Louis City SC, you're seeing some great pictures from those made in our area. The second edition of Soccer Made in St. Louis. Look at this. I mean, we're going way back years. Somebody asked, do we have photos of Monica as a goalie? Would love to see that. Marilyn, my team was hoping to be able to find some for you. I know they're somewhere. My mom, if she tunes in, might be able to find some, and then I'll take a digital photo because back then, obviously, they were all just, Polaroids.
You don't have a scrapbook?
I don't.
Oh.
I was trying to figure out where my yearbooks were, and then there might be some in there. I somewhere, Dave. I probably do, but I have no idea where it is in my house. So, Marilyn, we will try to find some for you. I can in my head picture me walking off in a very upset mood because it was not my best game. And so that picture is the one I thought my friend was going to find because she went to console me and I went like this, like, I'm not ready. Don't talk to me. Right? We take it so personally, don't we, as athletes? So Richard said, I cannot imagine hitting a wet leather ball with laces with my head. I did not know that's how the old balls were made. I know. So that's why Dave brought those in so you can see the evolution of the ball. You can see the difference in the pictures. Terry said Sam Bick. I don't remember Sam.
Sam was one of the big 5 defenders on the Steamers. St. Louis guy, played at DeSmet, played at Quincy College, which at that time was one of the top soccer programs in the nation. It was Sam. He was usually paired with Carl Rose.
Okay.
And then Steve Petcher was paired,
yes.
paired with Tony Bellinger, and Greg Mikowski was another guy who would come in, another St. Louis guy who would come in and play defense.
I don't know those last two, but Steve Petcher, I have a fun story about this, Dave. My first car that I almost bought was this Aqua 1967, I think is what he had, Mustang. And this was back like in the Bogey Hill subdivision before much was actually built in St. Charles. I mean, think about this, kids. Not a lot there. So we drove. My dad took me there. I think it was a 4-speed maybe, and it came back. I almost bought Steve Petcher's car. My dad's like, I think it's too much car for you.
Yeah.
And so we ended up not getting it. But Steve Petcher, yeah, what a great guy. Kathy said, I can't remember names, but my first game to see was the Steamers. And just, do you all remember the song, by the way? This could be a good trivia question for you. Do you remember the song that they played as they came out with the smoke as the players came out on the field? Do you remember? Don't say it.
Yes,
don't say it yet. He gave you a little tease of it.
Hint, yeah.
I want to see how many of you actually paid attention because the song will play on the radio. And instead of knowing the name of the artist, I just all of a sudden go, oh, Steamers. You think of the Steamers here. So we'll give it here in just a second if you can't name it. Let's see. I liked all the players you mentioned. Sam Bick on the forward, can't remember his name, but he was very cute with longer blonde hair. Who would that have been?
Boy.
Blonde hair.
Well, in those days, Daryl Duran did have hair, and he did.
Oh, was it Daryl?
And I'm not. He wasn't very long, though. I can't.
Yeah. So Terry, let us know if it was Daryl. Which, by the way, he's still steeped in our history and still around. Does he still have Duran Fitness out in
he's
Winghaven?
in the Indoor Soccer Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he played more professional indoor soccer games than anyone in history.
Oh, really?
More than 800.
And again, we're talking about the true, genuine nature of somebody. A class act. I've had a chance to meet him a lot over the years. Let us know if it was that. Let's see, who else? Anybody else? Ashlyn and Kelsey, anybody? No? Oh, I stepped away. Did we mention soccer versus football? We did, Debbie. Well, yes, he gave that to you earlier. And then she said Yugoslavia. What's that for? Don't know?
Slobo was from Yugoslavia.
Oh,
a lot of Yugoslavian players wound up playing in St. Louis. Don Popovic, who founded Luffy's soccer club, is from Yugoslavia.
Yeah. So again, if you've got, I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to tell me what was the name of the song, and I'm singing it in my head right now, that they played when they stepped out on the field, St. Louis Steamers. So it was Steamers, then Storm, or then Ambush?
Storm, and then the Ambush.
So it was that order.
Yes.
And then, so right now, if someone wants to go and watch indoor soccer, what exists for us in our area?
There is a St. Louis
what I
Ambush
thought.
that's been around for quite a while. They play at the Family Arena in St. Charles.
Oh.
It's a great night. It's very family oriented. They do a wonderful job catering to families. It doesn't cost much.
See, and we need to get that out there. So I'm glad we mentioned that
Right.
because, I mean, even loving soccer as much as I did, I actually thought we didn't have anything until City.
Yeah, and the local ownership, Shelley Clark, who owns, majority owner, does a great job with the team. They play from November basically through March or April if they make the playoffs.
Okay, so that you guys haven't said it yet. So do you want to sing it for us? He's like, no, I don't want to sing.
McFadden and Whitehead, ain't no stopping us now. is the name
Ain't
of the
no
song.
stopping us now. Yes, come on, everybody. That was just the most iconic song back then. And they would come out, and there was so much excitement, as much of the excitement that they could bring for us. And now you've got the St. Louligans for St. Louis City SC that have all these chants. That energy is definitely back. Get down there early. There's always some excitement. There they are, by the way. If you have not been, it's so much fun for you to go and just see all the flags. My husband was trying to ask, and somebody was trying to break it down for them, what all the different flags stood for.
There's one for, there's a supporters group called St. Louis Santos, which is the Hispanic supporters group. They have their own flags. They're all basically, they all work together. They're not like they're separate groups. So they all work together to create one unified supporters group for the city games.
Okay, so Terry just said the forward was from another country. He came later into the roster.
Oh.
Yeah, this one's, and I don't know who she's talking about. Oh, Stephanie said when the Saints go marching in, I went to one. No, it ain't no stopping us now. The smoke in the steam tunnel, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Ain't no stopping us now. Exactly. We're taking a walk down memory lane. All right, before we have to wrap up, one more time. It's year one, St. Louis City SC, which again, a remarkable first year. Still want you to go. I wore this on purpose, by the way, and here's why. When you look at the uniforms, they either look red to you, or I swear sometimes, don't you agree, they look pink?
Yes.
And this was just a tease, everybody, because my best friend Julie says all the time, Monica, it's clearly red. And I said, it is not. There are times where it looks hot pink.
The official name is City Red, but I always look at it as more like a hot pink.
Thank you. He
Yes.
he agrees with me.
Yes.
I think, they gave, we were able to see the stadium before the very first game. They had the media come out and taste some of the food. And then they gave us all these really beautiful scarves. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and I went, oh, the colors are hot pink. And someone flipped their head so quick and went, no, red. I go, I'm sorry, but this is pink.
Yes.
So, all right, it's red or it's pink. Either way, get your kit. Can you say why it's not called a jersey?
It's from Europe, from England. They call them kits. They don't call them jersey. They call them shirts. So it's,
isn't that interesting?
That lingo is been handed down to us from the early English pioneers of the sport.
But none of us ever, growing up here, going to the Steamers, the Storm, the Ambush, playing, I had never heard that lingo until St. Louis City SC, and people were like, a kit. And I said, you're going to give us a kit? Like, this is what was funny. They were dropping a kit off at the TV station for me, and I was looking for a media kit, and I kept going, well, I don't understand. And I'm looking, I'm like, well, there's a jersey on my desk. They're like, no, that's a kit. And I said, that's a jersey. Then you don't call it the field, you call it the
pitch.
And what? I never knew that.
Yes.
This is all lingo that you need to learn if you're going to go to a city game. What other things can you pass along to them that we maybe didn't talk about?
For people who are new to soccer, it's an international sport. I mean, everywhere in the world, it's the world's favorite sport. So there's a lot of international aspects to it that might be new to people, as you mentioned, and don't understand some of the lingo. But this is all been handed down to us over the years from people overseas who started the sport, and we're lucky to bring it in our book published by Reedy Press.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So year one, St. Louis City SC, get that for the soccer lover on your list if they've got a birthday coming up, or maybe you want to buy it early now because people are shopping on Amazon Prime Day. Well, I tell you to get this, hang on to it for the holidays, and then you've got that knocked off on the list. You don't have to be scurrying around weeks before thinking of something for Christmas. Either that or the second edition of Soccer Made in St. Louis. And then let's put it back up on the screen where you can see Dave. The first one will be August 10th. That'll be in Kirkwood at the Kirkwood Public Library. It's from 2 to 3 in the afternoon, and there's the address on East Jefferson. And then there's one coming up also in Washington at the Missouri Book Festival, Saturday, September 14th in downtown Washington. And you're trying to get a national player, right?
Yes.
That would be awesome. Yes. Well, thank you, sir, so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed seeing the ball difference, and I'm just glad I didn't have to catch that one.
Yes.
And right in the snow. I just think about playing. We were so tough, right, in our little shorts, and then it would be freezing cold, and it would just smack on your leg, and then some of you might even still have the name of the soccer ball still in your leg. So here's some cool pictures before we go to break that Zach can kind of surface through for you. If you want to see the incredible pictures, you got to get these books to enjoy that. I've got something exciting to tell you about, by the way, that's coming up in August, and we'll talk about that, and we'll wrap up with 100 Days to Freedom. I'm feeling, I think the Blue Book. We're going to do the Blue Book today. That's how we'll wrap up in just a sec. Everyone knows about Jody's balls, and why is that?
I have the best ball.
Oh, wait. Welcome back, 7:58. Truly enjoyed walking down memory lane, talking about soccer. Again, if you haven't had a chance to get something for somebody that's got a birthday right around the corner, this might be the one for you. Pass this show along to all those on your list as well on Facebook, YouTube, and we'll make some reels that you'll see on X and Rumble and Instagram a little bit later on this morning. All right, settle down. That's what this is called. I'm not telling you to settle. It's called Settle Down. It's day 23 of 100 Days to Freedom. This one's actually from anger. And you see a lot of anger in sports out on the field, right? Hot heads. You even see it in the stands with parents and parents against refs and umpires. We got to settle that down. A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. That's Proverbs 15, verse 1. Are you able to discuss a topic you feel passionate about without losing your temper? If so, congrats. But if you're reading this book, it's likely there are important conversations that never take place in your life because you cannot remain calm enough to engage effectively. You might become triggered by someone else's attitude, raised voice, maybe sarcastic response. You grow louder and more, and you sit there and get so much anger and depression, trying to communicate your strong feelings about the topic because you don't feel heard by the other person. Although you cannot control others, you can control yourself. Recognize when the tension in a conversation begins. Take a breath. Maybe say, let's step back a second. Pay attention to your body's stress signals. Do you have an elevated heart rate? Tension in your jaw or stomach? At this point, you can either give into the sparks that are flying, or you can pause. Show self-control by not fueling that argument. You can give yourself and the other person a little space. You can simply say, I need to think about this a little more. Can we talk about it another time? Say nothing more to escalate that conversation, and then offer some options to meet again on the topic. You cannot go through life without having difficult conversations. You'll experience unexpected upsets because we live in relationship with other humans. One person said, talk to people you disagree with, not about them. Another, if you do not wish to be prone to anger, do not feed the habit. Give it nothing, which may tend to its increase, right? All good things when you think of getting angry. Just take a pause. We talked about this yesterday, actually. Off air, we talked about sending emails and text messages and to go back and read it. Walk away from it for a couple of hours. Go back and read it again. I bet you don't send it, right? Don't send those. That's the biggest thing I can say. Don't send those when you're in the heat of anger. Lord Jesus, I pray for the ability to have difficult conversations to bring about positive changes. I pray for your wisdom, your grace, and your strength to control my reactions. Help me to hear what I need to hear and not react in anger. Amen to that. All right, something exciting before we get to any few last comments that I see that are coming in. I want you to mark this on your calendar. In August, we're going to be at a place called Adventure Unknown. It's going to be on August 8th. When I first stepped into this place, and we were invited by Reed Lowe, former St. Louis Blues player, a good friend of ours, he invited us to come over and see this. This is the community that's been waiting for you. So if you're looking for a space to hold meetings, you're looking for a space to actually do your work from instead of going into some coffee house, this could be your place. That wonderful bar can be stocked with food and drinks that you have a membership to. And look, all the guys love this one. This is the Speakeasy. You want to have a cigar, you want to have a little bourbon. Everybody loves bourbons. Are so hot right now. The guys all mingle there. The girls all go to the front lounge area, which now I think is going to be like the Bubbles room, and they can watch TV. They've got a pickleball court there. They're building a gym. They're talking about having a golf simulator and just really cool events, social functions that you can go to, fundraisers, things like that. We're going to be there doing our show live on August 8th from 4:30 until 6, and then stick around for a lot of social fun afterwards. A lot of you have been asking me, where is our next live Mobile Monica? Well, there it is. So put it on the calendar. Start telling everybody you know. I would love to see you there. Okay, last comments that I didn't get a chance to see. Thank you. Not much of a soccer fan. In Minnesota, we had the Kicks and the Strikers. Yes. Debbie, no, it's absolutely free. Oh, she said she searched. Did she? Duncan McEwen.
Oh, Duncan. Okay.
I'm glad that we had that. Good. I'm glad you had a chance to do that. Love the sombrero every time you see that promo. Debbie loves that. Anything else I'm missing before we wrap up? Okay, cool. Dave, once again, thank you so much. I hope we sell a lot of books, whether it was from the live show or all of you that get a chance to watch this later. You will love to have this at your house for sure. Put that on the coffee table. I'm sure it'll get picked up several times. Everybody be safe today. Again, some heavy rain this morning. We could have some heavy wind and rain a little bit later on today, depending on where you live. Just be careful and take care of one another, because that is the show of kindness. God bless you all.